It's the show of the week.
Hello, welcome back to Show of the Week, the weekly segment where we talk musical theater and where I wear flannel, and a very special hello to YouTube user A&M. I don't know if the rest of you have been paying attention, but A&M has been adamantly requesting that I talk about one musical, and today we're gonna do that. Let's talk about American Idiot. Now, American Idiot the musical, right? Because there's American Idiot the album, which all of my peers were very interested in my late 90s, early 2000s childhood. And I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. At that time, this was not my style of music. I've always been a Frank Sinatra musical theater, show-tuney kind of kid, and punk rock, not really my thing. That said, I think American Idiot the musical is really neat. It's really cool. It's a really interesting extension of the tradition of rock albums turned into musicals. Things like Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar and even The Who's Tommy, and now the punk rock musical American Idiot. What I enjoy about the transition of this piece from concept album into musical is that it was very intentionally musicalized, like musical theaterized. And certainly a lot of the stereotypical representations of musical theater don't fit with the genre of this. You're not going to have American Idiot with a kick line unless you're being really sardonic. But they don't just make it a punk rock concert performance on stage. The way they incorporate background vocals to be sung by different cast members, and the way they incorporate playing instruments on stage, but it's not a big crux of the thing, so it seems like a story. It seems like a piece of musical theater. Again, busting the stereotype of musical theater being this happy-go-lucky, fluffy, skies are pink kind of genre. American Idiot is not an uplifting, happy story. The story itself is brilliantly told. I compare this musical a lot in my head to The Who's Tommy. Rock band takes their concept album and brings it on stage, and where I think Tommy has a loose plot that does what it can to exist on stage, but kind of falls into the easy solution of making him a rock star, American Idiot, there's a deep, important, wonderful story of disenfranchised youth and turn of the millennia suburbia that was very much existent on the album, the original concept album, I guess now, but really comes through when it is musicalized and put on stage. If this kind of thing interests you, there is a documentary that you need to check out. It's called Broadway Idiot. It follows Billie, Joe Armstrong, and the entire Green Day crew on their journey from, like, the initial idea of that this production should exist to opening night, to how this came to Broadway. And it's one of the things I find very endearing about the whole thing is that Billie Joe Armstrong is not, he's not putting on any facade. He is just as surprised as everyone else that he ended up on Broadway. Not him specifically, but that, the band's stuff ended up on stage. They're a rock band. They're a punk rock band. This is not, show tunes and kick lines isn't their jam, but somehow it all just seemed to come together in a wonderful, beautiful little nugget of musical theater. American Idiot. Go listen to it, and I'll see you next week. I actually had the wonderful opportunity to see a college production of American Idiot with a busload of 7th graders. They were studying American Idiot in music class, knowing that it's kind of on the border of what's appropriate for that age group. It was in a wonderful 3/4 round space, audience way up to the stage, like face to face with the actors. I was a couple rows back, kind of, halfway around, but a bunch of my kids were right in front. And during St. Jimmy's song, when, the heroin dealer, the alter ego heroin dealer, it's complicated. When he's singing, there's a lot of mild audience interaction up to this point, but man, Jimmy goes all out and starts making his way down the row, pretending to make out with everyone in the front row, and on the very end of the row are 4 of my students, 7th graders. And You know those moments when you're watching an actor on stage and you can see their character and their facade break for like just that second, like just real quick, that tiny little glimpse of like the human behind the thing? While I'm watching this poor college actor making his way down, you know, being all crazy, and he turns and he sees these 7th graders after he's been making out with everyone, and he goes, "Hey," and then goes back to singing the song, and it was the funniest moment of the whole show. It was, Whew.